Hey everybody, Kane here, and welcome to another video of Art of Conquest. In this one, I was asked to talk about dragons. So, in the more recent days, and even quite a while back, if some people were watching the stream, my dragon was dying in like 6-ish seconds in some battles. And now more and more dragons are kind of facing the exact same issue. And people ask me, well, what can you do to stop that from happening? At the very least, make dragons survive 10 to 15 seconds. So there are a few things you can do, but most of those things really depend like what kind of tier in terms of PvP you're actually participating on, right? So what I kind of noticed that somewhere around like 4,200, maybe 4,300 end of season dual tower, just one greater ability for, say, defenses is okay, right? It's not kind of perfect to really make your dragon survive, but one you can actually work with. Now, if you go above those numbers, more so than not, your dragon is gonna be one-shotted, regardless of the health, regardless if your armory is maxed on resistances. This dragon is gonna disappear. Like, disappear, I mean in 6 seconds. So, the way to make it tankier is to add a second ability in terms of, say, an event that we have now, but that also will not really give you very far or get you very far, right? So if we have the dragon scales, we have dragon shadow right here as well. And from the tests that I had, dragon shadow is performing better than that of a dragon scale at the moment, because this one has, like, I do believe about 40% resistances plus a huge HP shield in comparison to that of like 28% and some HP, but HP no longer really matters that much. So that could, in theory, help you out a little bit more. But if you add those two abilities, from what I've noticed, your dragon is still, well, not always, but still can die in a matter of 10 to 12-ish seconds. It's still better, but it's not really incredibly good or what people would be looking towards for. But there is another paywall ability which is kind of sort of better, but you're like no longer able to kind of get it, and that is the Soulfire Link. This basically adds a 5-second invincibility on your dragon when your dragon falls below 20%. So if you're able to upgrade his Draconic in terms of, say, this protection to 50, if you have Soulfire Link, and if you have another tanky ability like this person has, Dragon Scale, this dragon is likely to survive for a minimum of like 25 to 30 seconds on the field alone. Now, the thing is, if you don't have this protection, but you still have, say, a Soulfire Link and a Dragon Shadow, perhaps a couple of skins, maybe 1.2 billion HP, from what I've seen, the dragon can still survive for 20, 25 seconds, sometimes depending if you're facing a very high tier person or higher breakthroughs, the dragon might also die in 15. So, those are, I guess, the easiest ways to acquire for many people. And I do mean for many people. However, if you do have a dragon scale and you don't have the ability, to get Linari, to get abilities, you can just get protection 50. And what I mean by protection 50 is all of these circles to 50. What that is gonna do is gonna add this first protection buff. It increases insane amount of resistances. You're also increasing a huge amount of resistances above 70%, which kind of reduces a lot of damage. Then you have stuff which increases your tankiness in frontline, reduces damage from odd enemies. So if your dragon hits those enemies, your dragon is going to take less damage, and all of those kinds of things. But essentially, it's kind of hard to pinpoint why the dragon is not taking like these insane amounts of damages from this. Like, for example, just a straight up 40%. I mean, that could have the same effect of a dragon shadow, but it doesn't. I mean, it probably kind of works in connection with like many of these other abilities and stuff like that. I'm really not certain as to kind of why, but essentially it is kind of overpowered, and I would say even more overpowered than that of a greater ability if it's not Soulfire Link. So as it goes, many people kind of require this particular thing to be done for the dragons to always reliably survive more than 10, 15, 20 seconds. Again, it depends what kind of features you placed on your dragon. It depends what kind of prism arrays, how much HP you have, what other abilities you might have placed. As you can see, I'm using an Azure Dragon at the moment. I have a Dragon Scale, and since I'm not really able to put another greater ability, I have Arcane Scales. Magic damage taken by Dragon is mitigated while also granting a pretty huge amount of HP. So I kind of noticed that my dragon is taking just a little bit less damage from Avrils, which apparently can now one-shot the dragons with just Arcanate. Yes, that is also a thing that people need to worry about now. So this kind of helps out a little bit. And of course, that HP percentage added like 100 million HP. So it somewhat maybe helping out a little bit. Now, there are other things that might make your dragon a little bit stronger, and that are your prisms. So, which one should you use? Personally, I think the Dragon's Faith one should be on the field as well as the Dragon's Armor. So, I had been skipping on the Dragon's Armor. I think it has like a second or maybe 2 seconds in the very beginning that your dragon is somewhat able to survive. Now, the thing is, how many burst sites do happen to go is you would require your dragon to survive minimum 11 to 15 seconds, because around the 10th second or from 10 to 15, heroes start dropping. So if you're able to drop some of the enemy's heroes before your dragon drops, maybe you're still able to pull it off. But it really depends, right? Like if you don't have that protection 50, if you don't have two graders or you don't have the Soulfire Link, it's gonna be a lot harder. Because if this the second the dragon just dies, entire formation flops. Like regardless of what you have, regardless of what breakthroughs you manage to have, the second the dragon dies, everything on your field starts dropping 95% of the time. Like there are nuances where it doesn't, because you're still able to drop some stuff, but that is a very, very uh I don't know, like cherry picked battles or whatever. So you kind of have to place these things on your dragon to make your dragon survive quite a bit longer. Now we have like what 35 heroes on the field. I mean, you are able to put a dragon's faith and a dragon's armor on the field. Like I'm 100% certain. There's like what 25 plus buffing prisms, so you put two dragon, a couple of tank, a couple of DPS prisms. It's easy. There is no issue with that. So yeah, you 100% have to have both of those on the field and make your dragon just a tiny bit tankier. Otherwise, your dragon is just gonna flop and die, and pretty much your PvP is done. So, these are the things that will make your dragon survive just a tiny bit longer. Essentially, really depends on the greater abilities now. It really depends on the Draconic Awaken Protection 50. And again, this one is probably one of the strongest ones, but if you have this, if you have two greater abilities, if you have a decent amount of HP, which with skins, like every single skin would add straight up 10% from this value. So if I get a skin, this 806 million turned to about 890 million plus. So if you have 5 skins, that's literally gonna make this dragon to 1.2 billion. So those value increases are actually pretty huge. So you should be aware of that. But yes, that is stuff that many of us would have to kind of look into. But yeah, I'm slowly but surely kind of working towards finishing this. I'm in no rush. I'm only using like the weakest utility boxes for that. Not really gonna waste the good ones for this particular thing. But yeah, that is what you kind of have to do. You let me know in the comments down below if this has helped you out, and whether, of course, your dragon was being dropped in like 6 seconds. I mean, my record was 6 seconds, but somebody on the Moontree chat said dragon dies in 5, so they even beat my own record of 6 seconds. So yeah, that is pretty surprising nonetheless. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you found it useful. And if you did, do hit that subscribe button. It would help me out a lot. As well as if you would wish to support me more than just watching my videos, I have made a Patreon page where you would be able to do just that. In return, I would be able to help you out more individually in terms of events, PvP, formations, and stuff like that. As well as I would like to thank all of my patrons for the support. I really appreciate it for your subscriptions. Thank you guys so much. Thanks for watching. Take care and stay safe out there.